Welcome back to Stoic Skills. The moment everyone thought the battle was over, Karoline Leavitt just changed the game again after her first lawsuit sent shockwaves through the View, exposing behind-the-scenes chaos and triggering a firestorm of backlash no one expected her to come back even stronger, but that's exactly what just happened. Breaking news: Karoline Leavitt has just filed another lawsuit against The View. And this time the stakes are even higher. Whoopi Goldberg, Behar, and the rest of the panel thought they had weathered the storm, that their damage control had worked, and that the controversy would slowly fade away. They were dead wrong. Because Karoline isn't done, and this new lawsuit, it might just be the final blow. What exactly is she accusing The View of? Now, how are the hosts reacting behind the scenes, and could this be the moment that finally brings the entire show down? Buckle up, because this just turned into the biggest legal battle in daytime TV history. If The View thought they had seen the worst of Karoline Leavitt, they were in for a rude awakening. Her first lawsuit was already a bombshell, but this new legal action, it's even more explosive. According to inside sources, Karoline's second lawsuit alleges that The View engaged in defamation, workplace harassment, and targeted reputational damage. She claims that the show's hosts and producers have not only spread outright lies about her, but have also coordinated behind-the-scenes efforts to blacklist her from major media appearances. But that's not all. In the court documents, Karoline's legal team reportedly lays out damning evidence: emails, text messages, and insider testimonies proving that The View deliberately orchestrated a smear campaign against her. Allegations include coordinated false narratives pushed on air to damage her reputation, secret discussions between producers and media executives to prevent her from appearing on other major networks, targeted harassment both publicly and behind closed doors, and the most rowing claim of all, Karoline's legal team is seeking multiple millions in damages. The lawsuit doesn't just demand a public apology, it threatens to financially the network. If Karoline wins, The View could be looking at a massive payout, potentially shaking up the entire future of the show. ABC executives are reportedly in full-blown crisis mode, scrambling to figure out how to respond to this new legal nightmare, because this isn't just a lawsuit, this is a direct attack on the entire credibility of The View. And the worst part, they never saw coming. The moment the news of Karoline Leavitt's second lawsuit broke, the set of The View turned into absolute chaos. The hosts had no idea this was coming. According to sources inside the studio, Whoopi Goldberg was the first to hear the news, getting a frantic call from an ABC executive just minutes before stepping onto the set. She reportedly froze in disbelief before storming off to her dressing room, demanding to know seriously, how did this happen again? Behar, on the other hand, was in complete denial. She brushed it off at first, assuming it was just a frivolous stunt meant to generate headlines. But as she read through the legal documents, her smug confidence turned into quiet panic, and then the real meltdown began during a pre-show meeting. Heated arguments erupted between the hosts. Sunny Hostin reportedly confronted the producers, demanding to know why they weren't warned about this sooner. Alyssa Farah Griffin, who has already clashed with her co-hosts over their treatment of conservatives, stayed eerily silent, clearly realizing that The View was headed for disaster. Sarah Haynes kept checking her phone as if hoping for some kind of PR miracle to make this go away. Meanwhile, the producers were scrambling behind the scenes. Emails were flying, phones were ringing non-stop, and legal advisors were rushing to draft a response before the media could spin the lawsuit even further out of control. And then came the biggest shock of all. ABC executives were livid. The network had already spent weeks trying to put out fires from Karoline's first lawsuit, now with another massive legal battle looming. Higher-ups were starting to question, did the hosts go too far? Has The View become a liability? At what point does this stop being worth the controversy for the first time in years. The show's future wasn't just uncertain. It was in real jeopardy, and the most terrifying part, they still had no idea what Karoline had up her sleeve next. Behind the cameras, things went from bad to worse. Whoopi Goldberg and Behar, the two most outspoken hosts on The View, were in full-blown crisis mode the moment Whoopi left the stage after filming that day's episode. She reportedly slammed her dressing room door shut so hard that staff members in the hallway flinched. Sources say she refused to talk to anyone for nearly an hour, facing back and forth, phone in hand, as she made frantic calls to her legal team. When she finally did speak, her anger was undeniable. "Are you kidding me?" Again, she demanded to know who had let this happen. She blamed ABC's legal team for not handling the situation. She blamed the show's producers for not keeping her informed, but most of all, she blamed Karoline Leavitt. Whoopi reportedly went on a tirade slamming Karoline as dangerous, vindictive, and out to destroy the show, but deep down she was terrified, because this wasn't just bad press, this was a legal disaster. Meanwhile, Behar was just as shaken, but in a very different way. At first she laughed it off, saying, "Oh please, another lawsuit. This girl just loves attention," but the more she read through the lawsuit details, the more her confidence started to crack. She started making phone calls of her own, demanding answers from ABC executives. She was overheard venting to producers, saying, "How long are we supposed to put up with this? She's making a career out of coming after us." And when she learned that ABC's legal team wasn't confident about how to handle this one, that's when reality hit her. By the end of the day, Joy reportedly stormed out of the building, telling staffers, "I swear if we lose this one, I'm done." Between Whoopi's anger and Joy's panic, one thing was clear: for the first time they were genuinely afraid that Karoline Leavitt had the upper hand. And with the lawsuit already making headlines, it was only a matter of time before The View's biggest crisis yet went from internal panic to public humiliation the moment news of Karoline Leavitt's lawsuit hit the press. ABC's corporate offices were thrown into absolute chaos. Phone lines lit up, emails flooded inboxes. Executives were pulled from their meetings, called into an emergency strategy session that lasted well into the night. This wasn't just another controversy, this was a full-blown legal crisis. ABC's lawyers knew they had a problem. Karoline's lawsuit wasn't vague, it wasn't baseless. It was detailed, strategic, and packed with enough evidence to make even the most experienced legal teams nervous. Internal emails had been leaked off, recordings had surfaced, a trail of behind-the-scenes misconduct was being exposed right in front of the public. ABC's legal team had seen lawsuits before, but this was a PR disaster waiting to happen. Inside the war room at ABC headquarters, executives were scrambling for solutions. One senior VP reportedly slammed his fist on the table, demanding answers. "How on earth did we let it get this far?" The legal teams were held, with some top executives reportedly furious at Whoopi Goldberg and Behar for dragging the show into another public disaster. Advertisers started to get nervous. Major sponsors were already re-evaluating their contracts, with some quietly pulling their ads, because the truth was, this wasn't just bad press, this was a financial nightmare. And as any major network knows, when sponsors walk, shows get cancelled. Ratings for The View had already been struggling. The show had been relying on controversy to stay relevant, but this time it backfired. Longtime viewers who had once defended Whoopi and Joy were questioning their loyalty. Conservative viewers who ABC once ignored were now leading the charge and demanding the show's cancellation. Then came the biggest red flag yet. Sources inside ABC started whispering about a major shakeup. Some rumors claimed that executives were considering drastic changes, including removing key hosts or shutting the show down entirely. One industry insider even leaked a shocking statement: that View is officially on life support if This lawsuit gains any more traction, ABC may have no choice but to pull the plug. For the first time in decades, the unthinkable was being discussed. The View might actually be cancelled. Whoopi and Joy tried to ignore the reports. They brushed off the backlash, acting as if it was just another media cycle that would blow over, but privately they were panicking because they knew the writing was on the wall. ABC couldn't afford another lawsuit. ABC couldn't afford another scandal, and most importantly, ABC couldn't afford to keep losing viewers. The View had always relied on stirring up drama, but now the drama was swallowing them whole, and the one person responsible for putting them in this situation, Karoline Leavitt, she had exposed the show's hypocrisy. She had ripped apart its carefully crafted image, and now she was forcing ABC to make a decision. Would they stand by their controversial hosts, knowing it could cost them their show, or would they cut ties to save themselves? Because at this point it wasn't just about Karoline's lawsuit, it was about whether The View could survive it all. As the lawsuit sent shockwaves through the media landscape, everyone was waiting to hear from Karoline Leavitt. Would she respond? Would she soften her stance? Would she give ABC in The View a chance to escape the backlash? The answer was a resounding no. Instead of retreating, Karoline went on the offensive. She had spent too much time watching conservative voices be misrepresented, ridiculed, and silenced by media elites who thought they were above accountability. This lawsuit wasn't just a legal battle, it was a message. If ABC and The View thought they could control the narrative, Karoline was about to prove them wrong. Her official statement wasn't just a response, it was a declaration. For years, The View has distorted the truth, pushed false narratives, and vilified those who refuse to bow to their ideology. They have operated without consequences, believing they can say whatever they want without ever being challenged. That ends now. The statement was short, powerful, and impossible to ignore, and the reaction was immediate. Millions of retweets, tens of thousands of comments flooding in, conservative influencers rallying behind Karoline. This isn't just about Karoline. This is about standing up to the mainstream media machine. ABC is in full panic mode because they know they messed up. Finally, someone is taking these people head on. But while conservative celebrated, liberal media scrambled. CNN claimed Karoline was weaponizing the legal system for personal gain. MSNBC called her dangerous and said she was attacking free speech. The New York Times wrote an op-ed accusing her of stoking division for political clout. But the problem, the raw facts were on Karoline's side. The video clips didn't lie, the court documents didn't lie, and the more the mainstream media tried to deflect, distort, and downplay, the more people saw through the spin. Then came the moment that turned everything upside down. A major conservative news outlet released leaked behind-the-scenes audio from a meeting at ABC headquarters. In the recording, an executive was heard admitting that The View had gone too far, and now the network was in serious trouble. The conversation was stunning. We should have never let this escalate. This lawsuit could expose more than just The View. If she pushes forward, it could pull back the curtain on how we handle these situations internally. Boom, it wasn't just a lawsuit anymore, it was a full-blown media crisis. And Karoline wasn't done. At a press event that same week, she stepped in front of the cameras, looked straight into the lenses, and said, "This lawsuit is about more than just me. It's about truth, it's about accountability, and it's about finally holding the media to the same standards they try to hold everyone else to." The audience erupted in applause. The internet exploded, and ABC, they had no response because Karoline wasn't just suing them, she was putting their entire empire on trial. And for the first time, they had no way out, with The View drowning in controversy and ABC executives scrambling to contain the fallout. Whoopi Goldberg and Behar had a choice to make. Would they stay silent and let Karoline Leavitt lawsuit dominate the headlines, or would they fight back and try to regain control of The narrative they chose the latter, and it turned out to be one of the biggest mistakes of their careers. The very next episode of The View opened with a tense, defensive energy instead of addressing the controversy. Whoopi tried to downplay it. "I just want to say something real quick," Whoopi said, her voice tight with frustration. "This whole thing, it's ridiculous. We've always been about open discussions. We welcome all viewpoints." Joy Behar scoffed, leaning forward in her chair. "Yeah, let's be honest, this is a political stunt. Some people just can't handle strong women speaking their minds, so they throw lawsuits around and pretend they're victims." The audience clapped, but something about it felt forced. Maybe it was the awkward pauses between their sentences. Maybe it was the way Joy's voice cracked just slightly, betraying her frustration. Or maybe it was because nobody was buying it anymore. As soon as the episode aired, social media erupted. Instead of Whoopi and Joy regaining control of the story, they had just poured gasoline on the fire. Twitter, YouTube, and conservative media pounced immediately. "So let me get this straight," Whoopi and Joy are claiming they welcome all viewpoints the same. Whoopi Goldberg, who literally walked off the set mid-debate. Joy Behar is accusing Karoline of playing the victim. That's hilarious, coming from someone who has spent 25 years screaming at guests she doesn't like. They sound so desperate. This is pure damage control, and it's not working. And then the worst part for Whoopi and Joy, as they mocked Karoline on air, they made a critical mistake that backfired spectacularly. Joy sneered, "You know this isn't new. This is what they always do. Come on our show, stir up controversy, then run back to conservative media and cry about it." Whoopi smirked. "Yeah, they play the same game every time they want attention. That's all this is." Boom. That one comment completely destroyed their credibility, because within minutes the internet was flooded with receipts, clips from Karoline's interview where she was calm, collected, and completely factual, went viral again. This wasn't some attention-seeking stunt. It was a lawsuit backed by actual evidence, and the more Whoopi and Joy tried to discredit Karoline, the more they exposed response, because no one took her seriously, and now it was too late to ignore her. Damage control plans were drafted immediately. Step 1, issue a generic statement downplaying the lawsuit. Step 2, instruct the View hosts to avoid discussing it on air at all costs. Step 3, quietly reach out to Karoline's team to see if a private settlement was even an option. But there was one major problem: Karoline wasn't backing down. When a representative from ABC reached out to her legal team, the response was short and brutal: "Karoline has nothing to say to you. We'll see you in court." That's when the real panic started. ABC executive knew exactly what was coming: more media coverage, more internal leaks, more public scrutiny than they had ever faced before. For the first time, ABC wasn't just dealing with a bad headline, they were at risk of losing complete control of the narrative. And with Karoline standing firm, refusing to back down, it was only a matter of time before this crisis turned into a full-blown corporate nightmare. The moment the lawsuit became public, the internet exploded like wildfire. Within minutes, Karoline Leavitt's name was trending across social media. Hashtags flooded Twitter: hashtag Karoline Vest View, hashtag ABC Crisis, hashtag Justice for Karoline, hashtag The View exposed. Millions of people were watching, sharing, and reacting in real time. Conservative influencers wasted no time ripping into ABC, and The View. Fox News immediately ran with the headline: Karoline Leavitt files another lawsuit against The View. This time she is not holding back. The Daily Wire posted ABC executives in full-blown panic after Karoline's bombshell lawsuit. What are they hiding? Even independent political commentators were chiming in. One conservative YouTuber reacted live, shaking his head: "I knew The View was corrupt, but this, they're finished." Meanwhile, liberal media was in full damage control mode. CNN tried to downplay it, calling the lawsuit just another political stunt. MSNBC claimed Karoline was weaponizing the courts for attention. The New York Times ran an op-ed suggesting that powerful conservative figures were behind her case, but the problem, the public wasn't buying it. Viewers didn't need media spin, they saw the raw legal documents themselves, they heard the leaked recordings, they watched Karoline take a stand in real time, and the verdict the people were siding with. Her comment sections were brutal. View has been lying for years, and now they're finally getting exposed. ABC thought they could silence Karoline, now she's about to make them pay. I've never watched The View, but this lawsuit is making me hate them even more. Imagine how bad it has to be for someone to file 2 lawsuits against you. Then came the memes, a photoshopped image of Whoopi Goldberg holding a lawsuit incoming sign, a clip of Joy Behar fake laughing with the caption "Joy" when she realizes she might actually get fired this time. A picture of ABC's headquarters edited to look like it was on fire by midday. The lawsuit was the #1 trending topic in America by nightfall. Conservative media was running non-stop coverage. By the end of the week, the lawsuit had dominated news cycles, with commentators from both sides debating its implications, and ABC, they were losing the battle. No amount of spin, damage control, or PR tricks could stop the storm, because the internet had already chosen its side, and this time it wasn't with The View. Has the lawsuit continued to gain traction? One question loomed over everything: can The View survive this? For years the show had weathered controversies, firings, and public backlash, but nothing like this. Because this time the scandal wasn't just about a heated exchange on air, it was legal, it was explosive, and it was putting ABC in a position they had never faced before. Behind the scenes, ABC executives were in crisis mode. Internal emails leaked revealing network bosses were frantically discussing how control the narrative. Emergency meetings